I was 40 for the year I fell in love again. It wasn't supposed to happen. Not at that stage of my life. Not after what I'd already endured: divorce, to kids, a mortgage, and a heart that no longer dared to dream. But somehow, I let my guard down, and he walked right in, smiling, charming, full of promises that felt like spring after a long, cold winter. His name was Eli, and this is the story of how I risked everything for him, and how he blocked my number. The same week I signed the second mortgage on my house, I met Eli at a local hardware store. Not the kind of place you'd expect to meet someone who'd one day ask for $80,000 and my trust. But there he was, standing in L7, struggling with a can of wood stain and asking me, of all people, if I knew anything about refinishing furniture. I laughed. "Sir, I've survived raising two teenagers. Wood stains are nothing." He laughed too. It was warm, not forced. And in that moment, I felt visible. You see, at 44, after a bad divorce and years of putting everyone else's needs first, I wasn't used to being seen. We talked for 10 minutes, then 15. Then he asked if I wanted to grab a coffee nearby, just coffee, no pressure. And I said yes. Eli was younger than me by nearly 11 years. At first, I hesitated. "You sure you're not looking for someone closer to your own age?" I asked during our second date, half joking. He took my hand, brushed his thumb gently across my knuckles, and said, "Age has nothing on connection." I should have paused, but instead, I smiled. Over the next 6 months, Eli became my son. He called me sunshine whenever I was stressed. He brought flowers, fixed my squeaky doors, cooked Sunday brunch for me and the kids. My daughter Megan adored him. My son Nathan was cautious, but even he warmed up eventually. I didn't see the warning signs. Not then. Because when you've been starving for affection, even breadcrumbs feel like a feast. Eli had big dreams. He talked about starting his own eco-friendly furniture business. He was a skilled carpenter. I'd seen his work. Beautiful pieces, all handcrafted, recycled wood, lovingly designed. "I just need a little capital," he said one evening, over red wine and candlelight. "Banks keep rejecting me because of my student loans. But if I had the startup money, just a loan, nothing more, I could turn this into something real." I didn't answer right away, but I saw the hope in his eyes, the longing to prove himself, and a small part of me, the nurturing mother in me, wanted to help. I was 26 when I bought this house. It was supposed to be a forever home. Back when I believed in forever. After my husband left, I worked 3 jobs to keep it. It was more than a house. It was stability. A place my children had grown up in. The one thing I never let go of. No matter how tight money got, I should have never touched it. But Eli, he made me believe I wasn't just helping him. I was investing in us. One night, as we were sitting on the porch watching lightning bugs flicker in the yard, Eli said, "If we do this together, this business, you'll never have to worry about money again. You deserve that." He leaned closer. "We'll be partners. In business, in life." He kissed me, slow and full of conviction. And just like that, I believed him. I called my bank the next morning. I remember the conversation vividly. "Are you sure, Miss Holloway? You've almost paid off your house." "Yes," I replied. "My fiancé is starting a business, and I believe in him." Fiancé. I hadn't said it out loud before. He hadn't proposed yet, but he'd hinted. He talked about rings, about Paris, about a summer wedding under a maple tree in my backyard. I took out $82,000. That was the beginning of the end. I wired the money into payments. $50,000 the first week, $32,000 the next. Eli thanked me with tears in his eyes. "You've changed my life," he whispered. He took me to dinner, bought me a small bracelet with the words "My Sunshine" engraved. I wore it every day. For 2 weeks after that, he was busier setting up a small workshop, working on designs, planning launch ideas, and then the messages slowed. At first, I made excuses for him. He must be busy, overwhelmed, focused. Then I saw that he hadn't read my messages. Calls rang twice and went to voicemail. I stopped by his workshop. The door was locked. A neighbor told me she hadn't seen him in days. My heart started to race. I checked his Instagram. Deleted. Facebook. Gone. His number. Blocked. I sat on the edge of my bathtub that night, staring at my phone. He was gone. Just like that. My daughter Megan asked, "Mom, where's Eli?" I couldn't speak. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because the shame was so heavy. It sat like a brick on my chest. How do you tell your children that the man you trusted, the man you financed, disappeared with your money and your dignity? Nathan didn't say anything, but he looked at me with those guarded eyes, not with anger, but disappointment, and that hurt worse than anything. The next month, I got the first bill, 1,212. That was the new monthly payment on the second mortgage, on top of everything else. I called the bank and asked if I could reverse the loan. They said no. I cried that night harder than I had in years, not because of the money, but because I had let my guard down, and someone walked all over me. Again, I wish I could tell you this was where it ended, but the worst part hadn't come yet. This was only the beginning. Because 3 weeks later, I got a call from a woman. She asked, "Are you Eli's wife?" And everything I thought I knew shattered all over again. Are you Eli's wife? That was the question that shattered everything I thought I knew. The woman on the other end of the phone sounded young, calm, almost rehearsed. I could barely speak. My hands trembled as I stepped into the laundry room, shutting the door behind me. "No," I whispered. "I'm not his wife." There was silence on the line. Then she sighed. "Well," she said, "that makes two of us." Her name was Vanessa. She had been with Eli for 3 years. They lived together in a rented apartment 2 towns over. She told me he'd been acting strange, disappearing for days, ignoring her calls, claiming he was working late on a business plan. My knees buckled and I sank to the floor. The cold tiles pressed against my back as I listened to her describe the same man who used to kiss my forehead and tell me I was his world. He had told her he wanted to marry her, that she was his only one. She had found my name on an old receipt in his jeans pocket, a bank statement, my full name, tied to a payment 50,000. She Googled me, found my number, and here we were, both fooled, both broken. I didn't cry, not yet. I think my body was in shock. I remember just sitting there, staring at the dryer, trying to understand how someone could lie with such detail, with such ease. When we hung up, I felt hollow, and then I got angry. I started digging through messages, through photos. I pulled up every old email he'd ever sent, every voicemail he'd left. Suddenly, things I had ignored started making sense. Small things, like how he never stayed the night on Sundays, how his phone was always face down, how he told me his mother lived in Arizona but in one message, he mentioned driving past her house. Last week, it all came crashing down. I wasn't just betrayed, I was played. And I had $82,000 worth of proof. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the dining table with a cup of cold coffee, watching the sun rise like it. Had no idea my world had been torn apart. When the kids woke up, I put on a brave face. I made breakfast. I packed lunches. I smiled when Megan told me about her art project. But inside, I was burning. After they left, I did the one thing I hadn't done yet. I called Eli, blocked. I tried from Megan's phone, straight to voicemail, so I emailed him. One line, "You robbed the wrong woman." I didn't expect a response. I didn't get one, but the next day, a manila envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address, no name. Inside was a note. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Please don't ruin me." That was it. No apology, no explanation, no money, just a coward's plea. I wanted to scream. Instead, I folded the letter and slid it into a folder marked evidence. That's when I knew I wasn't just going to cry over this. I was going to build a case. I went to the local police, filed a report, financial fraud, theft by deception. I brought the receipts, the bank transfers, the emails. The bracelet with my sunshine engraved on it felt like a joke now. They listened, they took notes, but when I asked if he could be arrested, the officer looked at me with pity. "Ma'am," he said gently, "unless you can prove criminal intent before the money was given, it's considered a civil matter." Civil, as if what he did was polite. But I didn't give up. I hired a lawyer with the little money I had left. I asked if we could sue him. She said yes, though getting the money back might take years, if ever. But it wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the humiliation, the manipulation, the image of my daughter asking me where the man I loved had gone, and me not having the words to explain it. I started keeping a journal. Every call, every thought, every memory that pointed to who Eli really was. Meanwhile, the bills piled up, the second mortgage, the groceries, Megan's braces, Nathan's college applications. Everything felt heavier now. I had no partner, no cushion, just debt. and shame. And still, I went to work every morning, still smiled at the customers who came into the salon, still swept hair off the floor like my heart wasn't in pieces. But I was tired. So tired. One evening, after closing the shop, I sat in the back room and cried for 30 minutes straight. The kind of cry where your whole body trembles, where your soul feels like it's trying to leak out through your tears. That night, I told Megan the truth. Not all of it, but enough. She sat there quietly, then reached over and held my hand. You didn't do anything wrong, Mom, she said. You believed in someone. That's not weak. That's brave. I broke again, but this time, there was warmth in it. The next day, I got a call from Vanessa again. She said she'd left Eli, packed her bags, moved in with her sister. She wanted to press charges too. Said she found out there were at least 2 other women he'd borrowed money from, one in Pennsylvania, one in Florida. I asked her to send me everything. We started building a file, piece by piece. We stitched together a web of deception so detailed it shocked even the lawyer. Bank accounts, aliases, fake invoices. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was a con. My lawyer said we might be able to pursue a federal fraud case if we could prove he'd crossed state lines with intent to defraud multiple victims. It wasn't much, but it was something. And something was more than what I had when I sat on the bathroom floor with my phone in my hand, staring at a blocked number and an empty promise. Eli had taken my money, but he hadn't taken my voice, or my fire, or my children. I remember standing in front of the mirror one morning, brushing my hair and catching my reflection. I looked tired, older, like someone who'd aged 5 years in 5 weeks, but behind the exhaustion was steel. I had survived worse, and I wasn't done fighting yet. I started looking for extra work, babysitting on weekends, helping a neighbor with bookkeeping, selling old clothes and furniture I didn't need. I cut back on every luxury. No takeout, no Netflix, no unnecessary spending. Every dollar was a weapon, every choice, a step back to freedom. I found out Eli had opened a small workshop under a new name in a town almost 2 hours away. He thought I wouldn't find him, but I did. And when I stood across the street, watching him laugh with a customer, you know what I felt? Not hatred, not even rage. I felt clarity. This man didn't deserve my tears anymore. He deserved justice, real justice, and I wasn't going to stop until I got it. That's when I knew part 2 of this story wasn't about pain anymore. It was about power. Because what Eli didn't know was that I wasn't the woman he scammed. I was the woman who was going to bring him down. The day I filed the federal complaint, I didn't feel brave. I felt terrified. It was just a digital form, really emailed through my attorney's office to the Financial Crimes Division. But I stared at it for nearly an hour before pressing send. I knew the odds. I knew I might never see a dollar back, but it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about standing up, about making sure Eli didn't walk away from this the same way he had with the other women, with a smirk, a new name, and a fresh target. A few weeks later, I got a call. The voice on the other end belonged to a federal investigator. He had questions, a lot of them. He asked for every transaction, every message, every screenshot, and I had it all carefully documented, labeled, printed, organized in folders so neat my lawyer called it a prosecutor's dream. Vanessa joined the case. So did the woman from Pennsylvania. And later, another from Nevada. He had a pattern. And finally, we had a trail. In the meantime, I kept surviving. The salon wasn't enough to cover everything, so I started offering mobile beauty services. I'd go to nursing homes, weddings, parties, anywhere I could make a little extra. I worked 6, sometimes 7 days a week. I lost weight from stress. My back ached. My knees swelled. But every time I looked at the second mortgage bill, I remembered what was on the line. My home, my children's home, and I refused to lose it. Megan made me tea every night, called me boss mom like it was a superhero title. Nathan started cooking dinners twice a week to help out. Somehow, in the ruins of that betrayal, my family got closer, and that meant more than anything Eli ever promised. Then one morning, I got the call I hadn't dared to hope for. We've issued a warrant for Eli's arrest. I didn't breathe. The agent continued. He's being charged with interstate wire fraud, theft by deception, and financial exploitation. I sank into a chair. My hands trembled. My eyes stung. They'd found him in Oregon, under a new alias, trying to start another business. But this time, he wouldn't run. I wasn't invited to the court hearings. Federal cases move fast and quietly, but I was kept informed every step of the way. He pled guilty to multiple counts, accepted a plea deal to avoid federal prison, but was sentenced to state time 3 years, and a court order for restitution. I won't lie to you, the restitution was pennies. He'd burned through almost everything, probably partying, gambling, or buying lies for the next woman on his list. But even if I never saw the money, I saw something better, a mugshot, a record, a trail that would follow him for the rest of his life. And I started over. I sold the bracelet, the My Sunshine one, used the money to buy paint, gave my house a new coat, a new feel, turned the old guest room into a mini salon studio so I could take private clients and cut overhead. I applied for a business license under my own name. For the first time in years, I wasn't building someone else's dream. I was building mine. Nathan got accepted into college, a partial scholarship, plus what I managed to save working nights and weekends. Megan started writing short stories, funny, brilliant little tales about girls who outsmart villains. I think she got that from me. One evening, almost a year after Eli vanished from my life, I got a letter, no return address. The handwriting was familiar. I opened it, expecting apologies, maybe more cowardice. Instead, it said, "You ruined me. I hope you're happy. I loved you." In my own way. I smiled, then I burned it, because I didn't need his version of closure. I already had mine. A few months later, something strange happened. A woman came into my home studio for a haircut. She was nervous, chatty. Her name was Emily, somewhere in her 40s, divorced. She mentioned she'd met a man online, a carpenter, said his name was Evan, that he was charming, sweet, and serious about commitment. My heart stopped. "Do you have a picture of him?" I asked gently. She did. It was him, Eli, with a beard, different hair, but it was him. I felt the blood drain from my face. "Emily," I said quietly, "I need to show you something." I told her everything, showed her news articles, the court documents, the mugshot. She cried. Then she hugged me. That night, I thought about how many women there must be out there, kind, hopeful, trusting, who never saw it coming. And that's when it hit me. I couldn't stop Eli from being Eli, but I could shine a light where others had walked in the dark. I started a blog. At first, just a small one, stories, warnings, financial advice for women starting over, then a podcast, then a Facebook group. Within 6 months, we had over 10,000 members, single moms, divorced women, retired nurses, grandmothers, all with stories, all with fire. We called it Sunshine After Storms. It became my second home, my healing. I got invited to speak at a women's empowerment event. When I stepped onto the stage, I looked out at rows of faces, some tearful, some defiant, all listening. I told them everything, not to make them sad, but to make them strong. And when I finished, I said, "He thought he could steal my money, my dignity, my hope. But what he gave me was purpose. What he left behind was a woman with more strength than she ever knew she had." The applause was thunderous. I stood there in heels that hurt, under lights that blinded, in a dress I bought secondhand, and I felt richer than I'd ever been. Eli was just a chapter, not the end. And I was just getting started. End of part 3. Words total story word count, 15. Words. Let me know if you'd like. A YouTube SEO description and trending hashtags emotional. Thumbnail text lines 5 options. Image prompts for each main character and visual scene for 16:9 or CapCut format or do translation, or if you want a new script in a similar theme and tone, I'm ready for next steps whenever you are.